Hey, this is Warren from Honed by Jones here in Carson City, Nevada, and welcome to the channel. It is Wednesday evening, and I'm here in my shop, and it's, what month is this? October. It's early October, October 2nd to be specific, and it was around May when I started using most of the equipment in my sharpening shop more full-time. So I thought, not completely full-time, but I'm just saying this has been my full-time focus now. So I've been using the machines and the sharpening systems in my shop more than I did in the past when it was just a side hustle. So I thought it was time that I go around my shop, which I call the U-shaped galley, and talk about what has been working for me and what hasn't been working for me. So I am going to start over here at the west side of my shop. I've got a Kalamazoo 1x42. Actually, I'm going to swing the camera over here. I've got two Kalamazoo 1x42 machines here. So there's one here with a 600 grit Trizac, one here with a 120 grit ceramic belt. And those are my two primary sharpening machines. I use them daily. I have no regrets with these machines. Something I did different on these machines is I modified the platen on these machines so that they could hold a angle grinder from Cliff Curry. So both of these from Curry Custom Cutlery in Hawaii. So both of these machines have an angle grinder built in to them, or not built in, but added on. Both of these angle guides are held on by magnets. So I actually broke the spring off the back of the angle guide, and I have a couple of rare earth magnets on the back holding the angle guides in place. That's been working great. So Kalamazoo 1x42s, 2 thumbs up. No problems with them at all. They've been working great. I think they are, I've said this before in a video, I think they are the perfect size for a sharpener. I like 1x30s. I think those are great machines too, but I feel like there's just a little bit more versatility in a 1x42 machine. And excuse me, I'm going to change up the lighting here a little bit so you can see me a little better, I think. So I think the 1x42 is the perfect size machine for a sharpener. 1x30 will work great, but this is my preference. And I forgot to say at the beginning of this video, the preferences I'm talking about here in my shop are for someone who's working as a sharpener. If you are a hobby sharpener, so you're someone who's super into knives and super into sharpening, these thoughts that I have on the different machines that I'm using, the different systems that I'm using, they are not specifically for you. This is for someone who wants to have a part-time or maybe full-time sharpening business and what I think about these different machines. I use Trizac belts for my higher grit belts in my sharpening progression. I typically go 120 to 600 and then a leather wheel. I typically use ceramic belts, and at the 120 grit, I have tried Super Grit. I think I've tried Red Label abrasives. I think I've purchased belts from Cliff Curry at Curry Custom Cutlery. They all work great. I really, as far as the 120 grit ceramic belts, I haven't found one that I don't like yet. They all work really well. And then I pretty much exclusively go to 600 grit Trizac after that, and that's been working great as well. So those are the two Kalamazoo 1x42s from Kalamazoo Industries. Can't recommend them enough. Haven't had any issues with them. They track well. They run smoothly. I like the speed that they run at, around 1700 RPM for knife sharpening. I like the simplicity of the machine. I like the versatility of the machine. Nothing but good things to say about these Kalamazoo Industry 1x42s. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk about, next system I should say, I'm going to talk about is, I'm going to pull out the system here and hold this one up instead of showing you on the workbench. So that is an Edge Pro Apex. I've actually had this machine for I don't know how many years, 6 years, maybe longer. I'm not sure, 5, 6 years, maybe longer than that. I don't actually remember when I bought the Edge Pro Apex guided sharpener. And I also, more recently, have a Edge Pro Bevel Tech guided sharpener. I've got nothing but good things to say about Edge Pro guided sharpeners. They're made in the USA, which is really cool. I'm not wed to that, but I do like that. And I pretty much keep the Bevel Tech set up with the scissor sharpening attachment on it. And I use the Bevel Tech for 99% of scissors that come into my shop get done on the Bevel Tech. The Apex, which is Edge Pro's more entry-level model, I keep the small knife. I just dropped something on the floor. So I keep the small knife jig on the Apex. I thought what I had on there was magnetized on there. So that's pretty funny. Okay, nothing broke. We're all good here. So I'll pick that up in a bit. But anyways, I keep the small knife jig on the Apex. I keep the scissor sharpening attachment on the Bevel Tech. I could change those things up, but that's what works well for me. Like I said, nothing but good things to say about the Bevel Tech. And so I don't trip over them, I am going to pick up the thing that dropped on the floor. Okay. Let's keep the video going as we go around my shop and we talk about the different systems that I use. So the next thing you'll see right over here, we're going to turn the camera a little bit, is the Buck Tool 1x30. I did a video just on this machine. This machine comes with a here, I'll actually turn it around so you can see it better. So this machine also has a Cliff Curry Curry Custom Cutlery angle guide on it and a 1x30 Trizac belt on here. So here's the thing about this machine. I don't actually ever use the belt sander part of it. I only use the leather wheel, which has got a bunch of diamond paste on it that I need to rub some. I put too much on. I need to rub some of that off, but that's actually a leather wheel, even though it doesn't look like it. That's because it's got far too much. I've got some new diamond paste that I'm trying out from Chef's Knife to Go, and I put on way too much, and I just haven't cleaned off the excess yet. But I pretty much exclusively use this machine facing this way. So as I'm going along through my progression from 120 grit to 600 grit Trizac, and then I go to the leather wheel, and that's what I use this machine for. The wheel is spinning away from me. I do my stropping on this machine. I got nothing but good things to say about the Buck Tool 1x30. Let me give some shout outs here. So I forgot on the Kalamazoo Industry 1x42s to say Steven Sharpens. That's the channel that I followed. He uses Kalamazoo machines, and that's why I got the idea to use Kalamazoo machines. If you want to follow someone who uses the Buck Tool 1x30 as their primary sharpening machine, Al's Mobile Sharpening. I don't know where he's located, but I believe that's his YouTube channel. He uses 2 or 3 of these Buck Tool 1x30s as his primary sharpeners. So if you want more information on those, I would follow him. Okay. Yeah. The one thing that I really like about this Buck Tool 1x30, I was going to skip over this, but if this is going to be a machine that you're going to use primarily for your sharpening service, I really like how easy it is to change the belt. If you've ever used a Harbor Freight 1x30, it's kind of a funky position where you have to pull on something to move the pulley to get the tension to release so you can change belts. On this Buck Tool 1x30, there's this big old lever. It's super easy to move. It immediately drops the tension down. You can pull the belt right out. Super easy. It's easy to adjust the tracking with this knob here. It's way more expensive than the Harbor Freight 1x30, but the advantages of this machine, I think, make it so much nicer than the Harbor Freight 1x30 that I think it's totally worth it. So yeah, let me just close that up real quick. So I haven't opened that in such a long time, I forgot how to close it. Okay, so that is the Buck Tool 1x30. So we're done with that machine. So we're going to spin it back around, and we're going to spin the camera some more. We're going to spin the camera a little bit more, and we're going to lower the camera, because next in line in my shop is a Tormek T8 with no wheel on it. It doesn't have a grinding wheel on it. And this is the first regret in my shop. I have some Woodturners Wonders Tornado CBN wheels. I have a 1200 grit, and I also have a 400 grit. So I'm actually selling both of these wheels, which is why they're not on the machine right here, because this is my first regret in my shop. I love the Tormek. I don't love these wheels. Actually, I'm going to bring it back up here so you can see it more closely. I don't love these wheels because I don't like the curved radius on the... I don't love the curved radius on the edge of these wheels. I want something with a sharp, not a sharp, but with a 90-degree, not radius, with a 90-degree angle. So I'm actually going to replace this 400 grit, this 1200 grit CBN wheel, and also the 400 grit CBN wheel that I have down here underneath in the shelf, in the drawer here. I'm going to replace both of these wheels with the standard Tormek grindstone that comes stock on the T8. So I've actually got those up for sale on Facebook Marketplace because I don't want to use them anymore. One of my biggest struggles with those Woodturners Wonders wheels is not the quality of the wheels. The quality of the wheels are top-notch. They're fantastic. I highly recommend them, but I don't like those wheels because when you get to the heel and the bolster of the knife, that curved radius on the Tornado wheels from Woodturners Wonders makes it a challenge sometimes to sharpen all the way to the heel, all the way up right next to the bolster, and get that area nice and sharp. And I struggle with that with those. I also have come to a place in my sharpening service where I either want to go fast or I want to go slow, and I don't want to do in between. So what I mean by that is I have my belt sanders all lined up over here on this side of the shop, and if I want to do super fast, efficient sharpening, using the angle guides on the using the angle guides or freehanding on the 1x42s, and I want to sharpen quickly, then those are the machines I'm going to use, and that's the progression I'm going to use. 120 grit ceramic, 600 grit Trizac, leather wheel. That's for fast, efficient sharpening that I still really like the quality of. But on the other hand, if I want to go slow, I want to go slow. And so I'm going to use the traditional wheel that comes on the standard traditional wheel. I think it's called the SG250 grindstone grinding wheel. I can't remember but whatever wheel it is that's made of whetstone material that would come stock on a Tormek. I'm going to use that instead of using those CBN wheels. And the other thing that I really enjoy using is whetstones. Not traditional whetstones, but ceramic whetstones. So I have a Shapton Pro 220. I can't remember if it's 200 grit or 220 grit. Shapton Glass 4000. Shapton Glass 500. I also have 1000 grit Shapton Glass down low here in my workbench, or I should say in my rolling workbench. A couple of Suhiro stones, some Suhiro stones, and a couple of diamond stones. So I find that, I either want to go fast or I want to go slow. If I'm going fast, I'm going to charge one price. If I'm going slow, I'm going to charge another price. So that's the way that I'm doing it in my sharpening service. The Shapton whetstones, highly recommended. I've been using Shapton Glass and Shapton Pro stones mostly for the last couple of months when I do whetstone sharpening, and I find that it works really great. I use the spring-loaded stone holder. I can't remember who makes this, but I've been using this for a few months as well. It's made in Japan, and it works really great for holding the stone on my little bridge here in my little pond here thing that I have set up, and that's been a really great system. One of my favorite new additions to the shop is a Craftsman 1/2 inch by 18-inch band file. I refer to it as a handheld belt sander. If you look on Lowe's website, an Ace website, a Home Depot website, this will be referred to as a band file, BANDFILE, a band file. I love this tool. I have the cordless version. They also make corded versions of this tool. I use this for all kinds of things now. Axes, hatchets, machetes, pruners, loppers, all kinds of stuff, and it is just so convenient. One of the reasons I find this tool particularly convenient is, let's pretend, do I have to pretend? No, I've got an axe right behind me. So, when I take an axe to let's say this was a stationary belt sander, like one of my Kalamazoo's, and I've got this running and I take an axe to it, I can't see the bevel. The bevel that I'm sharpening, I mean. The edge that I'm sharpening is on this side, on the back side of the axe. And so as I'm taking this to my Kalamazoo 1x42, I can't see the side that I'm sharpening. On the other hand, if I've got this in I've got a couple of vices on my workbench. If I've got this clamped in a vise like so, and I'm bringing this band file to the edge of this axe to sharpen it, now I can look straight down and I can see exactly where I'm working. If I use the Sharpie trick, I can see exactly where I'm working and if I'm hitting the bevel and if I'm hitting the apex. Love this tool. This Craftsman came with 3 grits of sanding, 3 grits of sanding belts, 3 belts of different grits, I should say. I think it was a 60, a 120, and a 240 grit. I use all 3 of them depending on the axe, depending on the hatchet, depending on the pruners, the machete, the whatever garden tool I'm working on. Love this. I do a farmer's market once a week in Reno, Nevada. So I live in Carson City, Nevada. I do a farmer's market in Reno, Nevada. And I take this with, and it makes it really quick and easy if I'm doing any tools like this, or a hatchet, or a machete, or anything else. That's the main deal in my shop. Those are the main tools I use. The Kalamazoo 1x42s that I started out with, highly recommended. Love those machines. Let me turn the camera around so you can see them. There's one of them, the Kalamazoo 1x42. Highly recommended. Love these machines. I'm going to lower the camera down a hair so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. Kalamazoo 1x42. Love these machines. Buck Tool 1x30. The model that comes with both a belt sander side, and this actually came with a grinding wheel on it. I removed the grinding wheel, and I also removed the housing that was the protective housing around it. And then I ordered this 6-inch leather wheel from Curry Custom Cutlery in Hawaii. I should have ordered an 8-inch leather wheel. Didn't think of it at the time. When this one wears out, I'll swap it out for an 8-inch wheel. Fit on here perfectly with no adaptation needed. I forgot to mention, this Buck Tool actually acts as my backup belt sander. So the idea of having this setup and using this stropping wheel only is that if I'm ever, say, doing a pop-up or a farmer's market, something happens to one of my primary machines, I have a backup sander that I can use so I can still do my same progression. So that's why I have these 3 machines. The Tormek, I talked about that. I talked about the issues that I have had with the Tormek machine. And I'm sorry, not the Tormek machine. No issues with the Tormek machine. Has run like a dream. It was actually with the Woodturner's Wonders CBN wheel, grinding wheels. No issues with the quality of the grinding wheels. Just don't like the radius corners. So like I said, I'm going to be sharpening with the traditional grinding wheel from Tormek. I believe it's called the SG250, but don't quote me on that. But that's the machine I'm going to start using in the future. All the Shapton Glass and Shapton Pro whetstones, really love them. Have had great luck with those over the last few months. We'll continue to use those in the future. The Craftsman 1/2-inch by 18-inch band file. Like I said, this has been a game changer. Really love this tool. The Edge Pro, Bevel Tech, and also the Edge Pro Apex. Really love these tools. One of the things I forgot to mention about the Apex and the Bevel Tech is I love having, and also the Whetstones, is I love having non-powered options. If I have to go, I'm going to do a talk for a quilting group to talk to them about scissor sharpening and maintaining their scissors. This is later this month. Yeah, it's up in Tahoe, and it's a quilting group, and I'm forgetting the details, but I believe I'm going to be talking about like maintaining your scissors and ways you can keep them sharper, and then kind of doing a sharpening demo. And I love that I can show up with the Edge Pro systems, and I could also say show up with the Whetstones, and I don't have to plug anything in. I don't have to worry about, you know, extension cords and power and generators or any of that kind of stuff. So that's going to be great when I do that talk. So I like having powered systems for efficiency, but I also like having non-powered systems for the ability to sharpen anywhere at any time. The last thing, and I'm sorry this video is kind of long, the last thing I'll say, let me pull these out of the box here. So the last thing I'll say that's been really great for my shop is something I never understood about the knife sharpening world and the knife sharpening business. So if you're someone who sharpens knives, typically you either go to a farmer's market or you have a home workshop, or, you know, maybe you do pop-ups in different places. You know, maybe you have a van that you drive around in. When I look out at the market, I see that most knife sharpeners do not sell knives. However, if you are a sharpener who has a van, who say goes to barbershops, salons, animal grooming places, those folks are selling shears and clipper blades all day long. And so when I looked at the industry, when I looked at the business, I never understood why knife sharpeners don't sell knives. Who touches knives more than a knife sharpener? Who touches a variety of knives more than a knife sharpener? I can't think of anyone. So your knowledge as a knife sharpener about what feels good in the hand, about what blades come sharpened to, from the manufacturer at a really high level, about what knives feel balanced, about what knives hold their edge. Your knowledge about these things is higher than just about anybody else, except for maybe someone who works in a cutlery shop. And the reason you have this knowledge is because you're handling knives all day as a sharpener. So my thought was, why aren't sharpeners selling knives? I could never understand it. So I did some research. I thought about different brands I wanted to carry, and I started carrying Town Cutler knives out of Reno, Nevada. I take them to the farmer's market that I go to. When I go to a restaurant to do sharpening, I show them to the chefs at the restaurant. They are Nitro V stainless steel blades with a blue metallic resin and Buckeye burl handle. They're just gorgeous. I'm going to hold the blade here. I usually don't do that because it gets my fingerprints all over the blade, but I'm going to make the sacrifice this time so I can show you these handles up close. Nitro V blade, G10 liners, Buckeye burl and blue metallic resin handles. They're just really comfortable. Sorry, it's got fingerprints all over it right now. They're really comfortable. They really feel, they're slicey. The Nitro V is a really nice metal to be able to offer to my customers. And so now I'm starting to sell these, and that's something else that's been great in my shop. Like I said, I don't understand why it's not a normal thing for knife sharpeners to sell knives, because we have more knowledge about what knives work well and what knives don't work well than almost anyone in the world. So I would encourage you, if you're a knife sharpener, to think about adding that to your business as something that you do if you're doing this part-time, if you're doing it as a side hustle, if you're doing this full-time, if you sell enough knives to make an extra $200 a month, or $500 a month, or $100 a month, or $1,000 a month, if you sell that many more knives in addition to your sharpening business, how is that going to impact your business overall? So for me, it's been great. It's definitely adding to my business every month and making my business feel like it's more viable every month, because I'm not only focused on how many knives I can sharpen per hour, but I also have the additional income of selling knives. So what I call myself is a sharpening service and micro cutlery now. Not really a micro cutlery. I don't have a brick and mortar store, and I don't even have a desire to have a brick and mortar store. But at the pop-ups that I do, at the farmers markets that I do, and when I talk to people in person who are bringing their knives by my place to get them, by my home workshop here to get them sharpened, I'll mention to them that I sell knives now. Like I said, when I go to restaurants, I mention to them that I sell knives. So yeah, that's it. That's my shop tour. That's all the stuff that's worked well over the last few months. Some couple of things that didn't work so well. I hope if you're a sharpener and you're trying to expand your business or grow your business, that you found some of that helpful. Like I said, my videos in general are not for hobbyists. They're for people who are trying to grow their sharpening business. And there was one more thing I was going to say. I don't remember what it was. I hope you have a great night, and I will catch you on the flip side.